What is up, everybody? Welcome to Crunch Time. Always good when we get the music intro instead of Dean introing. I love Dean, but the music can't be topped. We got two of the sharpest minds in the biz in the house. We got Squirrel. Finally decided to show up. Cheese was trashing you in the chat. So just waiting for Squirrel. What's up, man? How are you?
Good. How you guys doing? I had the fish, as Dean would say. But I'm here. I made it.
Way to fight through it, man. Happy to have you. And actually, the quote here, the very first comment that I saw from Thomas is, "What a strange little slate this is." Squirrel, do you like this?
Yeah, you know what? In terms of like a 3-game random slate, I do like it. But it is strange because oftentimes, if we have like a 3-game slate, it's like a Wednesday morning kind of thing where it's like, oh yeah, we have 3 games at 1 o'clock. This is just 3 games all day. So it's like a 3 o'clock. We got 3 o'clock, a 6:45, and an 8:40. And there's a game in Coors Field, and we've got a top prospect making his debut for the Washington Nationals. So only 3 games, but still a lot going on.
Okay, very fun. We got Dave Potts. Cheese is good in the house as well. Cheese, today is Canada Day. It's basically halfway through the MLB season, according to my calculations, and it is your horse's birthday of all things. Happy birthday to Boomer. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty good, yeah. Can't beat Canada Day and Boomer's birthday on the same day. Makes up for goofy, weird, stretched out baseball slate. I'm glad Squirrel likes it. We'll just let him do all the talking. And if you have any horse questions, pop them in the chat.
He's the man for the job. I've got to ask, with this weird stretched out slate, is there concerns and game theory about we might not have the third lineup and you could get yourself in a weird spot, Cheese, where you're like, oh, I was planning on playing the superstar in the last game and now he's scratched and now I have all this money, or anything you need to be aware of?
We'll almost certainly get the last 2 lineups before the second game locks.
Okay.
So as long as you have a couple spots left to finagle things, you should be all right. There is, a pretty good chance that there's something weird and unexpected with one of these lineups that may just leave you kind of stuck. But the good news is, on a 3-game slate, like, you want to leave some weird amounts of salary anyway and just do some weird things. So like if Willie Adames ends up not playing, jinx that for no reason, and like you're just stuck, oh, I guess I'm gonna just not have that salary spent. I don't, it doesn't matter. Like, it's a 3-game slate.
Yeah.
But I do think we'll get all the lineups before the second game locks.
Okay, cool. Anything else you want to note before we just kind of dive on in?
The note is play all 6 of these offenses, leave salary, do some non-stacks, play some bats against your pitchers. Just do all the weird things because it's a weird 3-game slate.
Okay. Dean says, I just showed up. Did I miss the first clue for Movie Monday? Eric Johnson said, no Movie Monday. I'm disappointed. Guess what? I will come up with a Movie Monday while the guys are giving analysis. I'm going to figure something out. I don't know. I probably won't do it like Dean, and it won't be near as clever as the way Dean does it, but I'm going to figure something out. Let's dive into this slate. There's no real weather concerns for what it's worth. Let's dive into this slate. Cheese, you want to talk to me about the 6 pitching options that I assume we have?
Yep, that is correct. Essentially, we have 3 pitching options, and then the couple, like, you play some nonsense cheap pitching in Coors Field just because it's a 3-game slate. Personally, I have 0 Yariel Rodriguez. If you're doing 150 lineups, you should have all 6 pitchers. But if you have like 30 lineups, which is about what I have, I would not yell at you if you have. I have no Rodriguez. I don't think I have any Gomber, and I have like 2 Bryce Wilsons. I don't think this slate is won at pitcher. The chances of the 3 top guys, Gore and Hunter Brown being the top 2, and then David Peterson, the chances of them getting like massively outscored by the 3 random jabronis is very close to 0. I mean, if Austin Gomber scores 16 DraftKings points and Mackenzie Gore scores 12, I don't even care. I mean, whatever. Like, I think we're overthinking it with pitcher. I would much rather overthink it with hitters. So not overthinking it at pitcher means you play Hunter Brown, and then on DK, if you have money, you play Mackenzie Gore, and if you don't, you play David Peterson. And that's the whole thing. Like, you can overthink it as much as you feel like doing. I think it's just totally not necessary. And on FanDuel, salary pretty much doesn't exist. I would be fine to just do like 33% each of Brown, Gore, and Peterson, but I have more Brown. I would do like 50% Brown and 25 of the other people. But again, like I don't think it matters. Like we don't need a ceiling game out of a pitcher. Just take whatever points you get. If it's 10, if it's 20, I don't think it matters. I'm playing Brown, Gore, and Peterson.
Okay, wonderful. Squirrel, your thoughts?
Yeah, not a lot to add. There's 6 pitchers, really 7 if you count the opener, I think, for Milwaukee. But I mean, 2 of the pitchers are in Coors Field, so I don't like them that much. And third pitcher is Yariel Rodriguez, who I also don't really like that much. Then there's the 3 real pitchers, Mackenzie Gore, Hunter Brown, and David Peterson. I probably like Peterson relatively more, I think, than other people. Like I wrote him up as the top pitcher, and I tagged him. And the Nationals just don't hit left-handed pitching very well. The Mets do. So it's a battle of 2 left-handed pitchers, and Mackenzie Gore is a much tougher matchup, and he's not pitched well his last 2 starts. That probably doesn't make a big difference, but I'm as big a Mackenzie Gore fan as there is out there. But I don't think I'm going to be over the field on him. I'd much rather play more David Peterson and less Mackenzie Gore, just given the matchup.
Okay. Good stuff. Let's talk about the stacks. I mean, we've got a game in Colorado, looking at some of these totals here. Milwaukee at 6.3. That's a lot of runs. Quick question here. Hunter Brown on a 95 pitch count. Does that worry you? Houston used 6 dudes out of the bullpen last night. Going to need some innings from him.
That's not a real thing. I mean, just like he rarely gets more than 95 pitches, nor does he need them. I mean, like he has roughly 95 pitches in his last 7 games, which have all been amazing and elite. No, it doesn't worry me.
Okay, yeah, that seemed pretty good.
Just a normal pitch count.
Yeah,
right.
To say he's on a pitch count is misleading. He's not on a pitch count.
Okay, wonderful. Let's Peter. I'm giving my movie clues here. First clue: comeback season. And Peter just immediately said Twister, which is. That's pretty funny. It's not Twister, but that is a damn good guess. Let's talk about some of the stacks. Squirrel, I mentioned the game in Colorado. Got some high totals there.
Yeah. So I think that 2 of the games have totals of 8.5, and the Coors Field game has a total of 11.5. I'd rather play the 11.5 total game. So my twist on that might be, speaking of Twister, might just be play a little bit more Rockies and a little bit less Brewers. But yeah, I think you want to target the Coors Field game. It's not really rocket science. I do think that maybe if you're looking at this slate, you're maybe having a bit of a more casual field playing a 3-game slate on a Monday that starts on a Monday afternoon. And that slightly more casual field might play a little bit less of the later games because there's no lineups and there's no green indicator that the guy's in the lineup. But that last game is Coors Field. So you want to be leaving all of those roster spots open for the Coors Field game. Again, if you're playing 150 lineups, you probably want to be stacking 4-man, 5-man stacks of every team. But I would focus on that Coors Field game because people might not focus on it as much as they should.
Okay, great. Cheese, your thoughts?
My thought is if I believed what Squirrel was saying, that people are not going to be jamming the Coors Field game, I would be all over it. I don't see that as being the thing. Yeah, Squirrel, what's your problem?
Zach says Squirrel thinks this is 2017.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I don't get that.
Meaning in 2017, most of the lineups came from jabronis like me who are just hand building and looking at stuff. Today, all the lineups come from people jamming in lineup builder, which will give you Brewers and Rockies.
Yeah, gotcha.
That being said, it's still not. It's a 3-game slate. Everyone plays the ownership game. It's not like we're going to get 70% owned Brewers or something. You can still make a case to just go way ahead of the field. It's kind of what I talked about in the musings. I think you make a choice and say, I'm going over on this game or I'm not. So personally, I'm going way under on the Brewers. because I do think the ownership will be pretty extreme. But I'm not going under at all on the Rockies. I'm going way over on the Rockies. I think, like, I would guess they would be as a whole, like, I don't know, 20% less owned than the Brewers. I still think they're the second chalkiest team, and the Astros are very clearly third. If you just want to be different and that's your whole goal, then don't play the Brewers, the Rockies, or the Astros, and you're set. In that world, my favorite for a full stack is the Nationals, and my favorite for mini stacks or one-offs would be the Mets. And again, in my builds, and I'm not doing 150 lineups today. I don't even have as much as I normally have. But I'm way, way under on the Brewers. I don't expect that to work. I expect to lose. But I would expect to lose even if I played my 30 lineups with all Brewer stacks. So I would rather lose with less Brewers than lose with more.
Okay, that seems fair. Let's go around the horn. Drop the second movie quote clue. By the way, we'll see. I don't know how smart people are. I don't know how quick they get it. Like, I feel like Dean has a better feel of this, but we'll see how it goes. Let's go around the horn. Talk about position by position. We still got time. It's only a 3-game slate. Cheese, what are you doing at catcher?
So just to reiterate, like, especially some of these positions don't even have that many players at all. Like, if you're doing not even 150, you're doing like 40 lineup, you should have every single player on the slate, period, bar none. Especially at catcher. Like, we have the very, very obvious William Contreras, who's also $6,300. And then everyone else is pretty bunched and kind of decent. I like Yainer Diaz and Elias Diaz, although we don't know if Elias Diaz is in the lineup. Like, the Rockies catcher situation is one of the, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. I don't know. I'm just assuming we're going to get Diaz, but we could get Hunter Goodman in there. We could get Stallings in there. I don't know. Ruiz and Kirk are very cheap, and I have no issue just throwing any random cheap guy anywhere to get whatever lineup you're trying to get. But they're pretty far behind the pack. And then Francisco Alvarez, I think, just exactly correctly priced, just slightly below the Diaz's, but ahead of Kirk and Ruiz. Essentially, I have nothing to say. Like, the pricing is correct, air quotes, correct at catcher. And I don't think you base your whole lineup on what you want to do at catcher. I just think you wait and see what happens with it.
Okay. I feel like you had a lot to say, honestly.
Yeah, it's a lot, but with like no useful conclusion.
I see. Okay.
There's a bunch of words, but it didn't tell you anything.
That's fair. Squirrel, do you have a useful conclusion for me, or do you feel the same, that you're just like, meh, pick a guy, play a guy, who cares?
I think maybe the key phrase of the salary is pretty much correct. And so, like, William Contreras is far away the best projected catcher, but yeah, I mean, he's also, I think, the second most expensive guy on the slate. So it actually does cause like a little bit of a salary crunch if you put Contreras in your lineup. So I think you can go, in any direction you want. Catcher often is on DraftKings, just whatever team you're stacking, just use that catcher, and that could be true today.
Okay. How about first base?
First base. So I think, Rhys Hoskins is going to project as one of the best plays on the slate and one of the best point per dollar guys on the slate, because he's in Coors Field. He's facing a left-handed pitcher. I think, but there are other first basemen on the slate. So I like the idea of playing Michael Toglia. I do think Cheese and I might be on the same page of like trying to be overweight the Rockies. And just because if people are playing the Coors Field game, they're probably going to the Brewers in a disproportionate amount. You could play Michael Toglia. Of course, you do run into possibilities any of these guys are not in the lineup for the Coors Field game. And then the Mets have a couple of pretty good first basemen, Pete Alonso and JD Martinez. And so I probably would like to be over the field on the Mets out, if I'm looking at any team outside of Coors Field, just because I think Gore will be popular, but he's struggled a little bit, and the Mets can hit left-handed pitching pretty well.
Okay. Cheese, your thoughts first.
I think Michael Toglia is my favorite play on the slate based on ownership. Like I think I like him better than Hoskins straight up, and like I don't know, a seventh of the ownership or something is what we're showing. I also really like Alonso. Those two are in more of my lineups than anyone else. I've got some John Singleton, and otherwise just things in a stack.
Okay. Second base. Drop my third clue. We got comeback season, exotic foods, and rose tinted shades. Those are the three clues.
You're doing fantastic, and I think we should do everyday movies.
It's pretty fun, honestly. I see why Dean does this. It's very enjoyable.
And then you don't have to listen to us talk about this weird little 3-game slate either.
Right.
So second base is super weird. Like this is the one position where most people are not going to play a Brewer, even in Brewer stacks. Because if Bryce Terang's even in the lineup, it's a $5,600 lefty on lefty, maybe at the bottom of the lineup. And then there's no Astros at the position. So all this leads to Brendan Rodgers chalk, which is the one guy I wish he wasn't chalk. Because I like all the Rockies a lot, mostly because they're so much less owned than the Brewers, but he's the one guy who's not. He's still my highest owned player just because the position's kind of dead. But I am playing some Spencer Horwitz and Schneider, even in Hunter Brown lineups. And then I don't mind just a super cheap like Vargas if he's in the Washington lineup, or Monasterio for the Brewers.
Okay. Squirrel, your thoughts second?
Yeah, it's a weird position on a weird slate. It's a relatively very strong position for Toronto because they've got David Schneider, Spencer Horwitz, and Isaiah Kiner Letha. ICAF is all second base eligible on DraftKings for Toronto. And it is strange. I actually don't mind going to some of the Brewers here because they will be underowned. I think nobody's going to want to play them because they're projected to be 8th and 9th in the lineup. So I think it's a way to get different. But that could also just backfire if they just go over 3 and never get another plate appearance because they're hitting 9th.
Okay. How about third base?
Yep. Third base. So I think Joey Ortiz, if he's leading off from Milwaukee, will be very popular. I think he left the game. No, he missed yesterday's game. So there's a possibility he just misses the game. But he's probably going to project as the best guy on the third base position for the slate, just because he's leading off in Coors Field. Ryan McMahon, I think, is maybe a really good pivot. He's only $400 more expensive. Then Alex Bregman is moving up to the leadoff spot with Jose Altuve out, or at least not starting. So Bregman gets a little bit of a bump up for Houston.
Okay. Cheese, your thoughts at third?
Yeah, this is the toughest position because I would say it's like 50-50 if Ortiz plays or not. And he's kind of like the obvious play if he does. Like, he hasn't played in several days. He's got a neck injury. But he was close to playing yesterday. I think he was in the original lineup and then got scratched. So I think if you're building now, I think you just assume that he plays. And if he doesn't, then just swap down to Monasterio and just leave the salary in Brewer stacks. But I like Ryan McMahon better than him anyway, kind of by a lot. And I like Bregman, and I like Mark Vientos, and I like Nick Senzel. So even assuming Ortiz is in the lineup, personally, I'm pretty sure I have 0. And again, I don't feel great about it, but that's how much I have, 0.
Okay. Dropped another clue. The clues are comeback season, exotic foods, rose-tinted shades, and dead daddy. Those are your 4 clues on this Movie Monday. We got a lot of guesses coming in. So far, nobody's got it. We'll see. I'll drop a 5th one. I feel like it's very gettable at this point. I'll say that. Cheese, are we on to shortstop now? I haven't been paying attention. I've just been movie quoting.
Yeah, we are. Willie Adames is the chalk. He's not quite as expensive as Contreras at catcher. And I think because he's a little easier to get, he'll be the highest owned guy. I do like him. I'm playing more of him than any other Brewer. I don't need him in stacks. I'm happy with him on his own. But I like Lindor a ton as well. And then I think everyone else is in stacks. And I kind of like them all in stacks. I mean, I like Pena, Abrams, Tovar, all those guys with their stacks are great, but Adames and Lindor are the two I'm trying to play on their own.
Okay. Scroll, your thoughts at short?
Yeah, it's I think she's pretty summarized it pretty well. It's Adames and Lindor, I think, are the top two. I do like Tovar because I like the Rockies, and then CJ Abrams is just too expensive, and I don't like the Nationals in the stack. But it's Juan Soto trade day. The Nationals are calling up this guy James Wood, who we'll talk about in the outfielder section. But Mackenzie Gore, who they acquired in that trade, is starting for the team, and then CJ Abrams is maybe the third, one of the other guys they got in that trade. So maybe don't overlook CJ Abrams just in case they do a whole trade extravaganza day.
Okay, very nice. How about outfield?
Yeah, so Christian Yelich is probably the top projected guy. He's it's a left on left matchup, and he's really expensive, but yeah, he's still absolutely worth consideration if you have the salary. I don't, I think Jordan Alvarez is somebody I'll be under the field on because I'm not super high on Astros stacks. And that's probably a scary fade. Jackson Chourio is only 3,500 for Milwaukee, and he's probably the best point per dollar guy for Milwaukee. Then Brenton Doyle, Charlie Blackmon, and Nolan Jones, the Rockies trio. I'll be aiming to be over the field on them. And then James Wood, who I mentioned, he's 3,500 on DraftKings. I think maybe 2,600 on FanDuel. I'm not playing a huge amount of him today. He is one of the top prospects in baseball, and the Nationals are calling him up, but it's a lefty on lefty matchup. So there's a possibility they don't even start him. But he didn't have pronounced splits in the minor league. So he can hit left-handers. They just may not start him. But we'll find out probably, at the time that the lineup is announced. But yeah, I'm not going crazy with James Wood today.
Okay, very good. Steve pointing out we've got about 200 people watching, and we barely have any likes, and that's not cool. This is free content. All we want is the little thumbs up. That's all. So make sure you hit us with that thumbs up. And Cheese, we want your thoughts in the outfield.
Yeah. So on the James Wood thing, I hope he either doesn't start today or goes 0 for 4, just so we can keep his salary low for a little bit longer and play him on a bigger slate. I'm very excited to see him. Basically up top, it's not quite as drastic as Turang at second, but Yelich will be considerably lower owned than Contreras, Adames, and Hoskins and Ortiz in the Brewer stack. So if you're doing a bunch of Brewer stacks, I would recommend getting overweight on, even if you think Yelich is overpriced, which he probably is. You got salary to play with, so I would prioritize Yelich there. I'm leaning more towards, I do have a lot of Alvarez. He'll also be pretty popular. So I think my highest owned players are the Rockies with Nolan Jones, a little less, but some Charlie Blackmon. And then on the lower side, I like the Astros better than the random Brewers. It would be Jake Myers and the French vegetarian is back in our lives, Trey Capaget.
Nice.
Yeah, super cheap. I do like some Mets here too. I'm not playing JD Martinez at first, but I am playing him in the outfield. Assuming Tyrone Taylor's in the lineup. He's on my list. I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay. We want some home run calls. I did drop my 5th movie clue officially. Clue 5 is Broadway. So comeback season, exotic foods, rose-tinted shades, dead daddy, and Broadway. These are the clues. This is super fun. I got to tell you, this is the most fun I've had in a long time, which is sad, but true.
You do need to potentially get out more, but I'm glad you're enjoying it.
This is true. I got distracted. Oh, we need home run calls. Cheese, what do we got?
We got Michael Toglia, Francisco Lindor, and Trey Capaget.
Okay. Squirrel, you got some names for me?
Yeah, he took my my expert survey home run call, Toglia. But I'll go with Jake Myers, moving up in the order for the Astros. He's in the 2 spots, and I'll go Pete Alonso.
Okay. Very good.
I don't think you're allowed to pick Pete Alonso for home runs, as I understand it.
Yeah. People get very mad if you pick him for a home run, just so you know. Let's see what we got here. Any questions coming in? Hey, if you have some questions, go ahead and drop them. We're about 5-ish minutes until lock. I think it's a weird time, I believe. Like, was it 7 after or something?
2:07.
Yeah.
Those Canadians on Canada Day, just goofing around over there.
Doing weird things. If you got a question, get it in. If not, I guess we'll talk about the movie. I'm done giving clues, and I will say, officially, it has been answered. It has.
Okay, I would have been surprised if none of those were it.
Yeah,
I mean, Dean knows it. He just is
apparently. Dean said, check your DM. I don't know how to check my DM.
I feel the same. I knew it after one clue. I just chose not to say.
Right, Dean, you can just like put your guess because I think it's wrong. I think I saw something from Discord. I don't know how Discord works, but I saw something pop up from you and it wasn't right. So if that's what you thought was it, that's not it. Any love for Jeff McNeil or Jose Iglesias at second squirrel on DK?
Jeff McNeil?
That's what he says.
So
Jeff.
basically one of the two of them will start for the Mets. I think that's what he means.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and not particularly. I would rather play Ildemaro Vargas and hope that he's in the lineup, but we'll find out, I think, when, because it's the same game. So we'll find out when the lineup's announced. I'd probably rather go with Vargas, assuming I'm not playing David Peterson.
Okay.
But even then,
yeah,
I might just play Vargas.
Okay. Wait and see if we get any questions. Nope, no questions. We're going to reveal it. We're going to reveal who got Movie Monday correct. The answer is Producer Steve. Producer Steve got Movie Monday correct. Steve, you want to jump on and tell him what your guess was?
Woo! Was it The Waterboy?
No, I thought you got it right.
He guessed like 4 times.
Well, I guessed each clue. So then was it The Lion King?
The answer is The Lion King.
Woo.
Clue number 1, comeback season. It's a comeback tale. Exotic foods, slimy yet satisfying. Rose-tinted shades. Obviously, we're talking about Elton John, The Circle of Life, Dead Daddy, Mufasa, Murdered. And 5, Broadway, The Lion King is on Broadway. That's how a Movie Monday is done. Good job, Steve.
Do I get a week free premium?
You get a week free premium. Congratulations.
You actually did a fantastic job because there were a bunch of very reasonable guesses. Like for a while, it could have been several different things. I think you're a superstar at this.
I might start doing it just every day.
I had the only time I got it really was Broadway.
Yeah.
Well, Dead Daddy and Broadway. I'm like, I know The Lion King was big there. So,
yeah. You had very little conviction when I was like, you got the answer right. And then you said the wrong one. That's not great. There we go. The answer is The Lion King. By the way, Peter says, I've never seen The Lion King. Tough scene. What?
What?
It's The Lion
wild.
King. Everyone's seen The Lion King, right?
Like no version of it either. I mean,
right.
You're saying you haven't seen this version of it. I don't know.
Right. You could have seen it on Broadway. Dean says, I've also never seen The Lion King. How is that possible, man? I don't know. I had a little sister growing up, and I was a boy.
Yeah, I guess theoretically, if you were never around kids and you weren't in the right sort of time of life when it was out, I could see how you would have never seen the original. And if you've never seen it, then you're not a Broadway person. Why would you see that? And if you don't go to movies all the time, why would you see the live action? I mean, I get it, but you should see it.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest movies of all time. Like, it's phenomenal. It's just absolutely like a 10 out of 10. And yes, I did say, and I stand by it, it's one of the greatest movies of all time, animated movies of all time. Let's see, we got about 2 minutes here until we hit the lock, and we've answered all the questions. I don't know. I think it's time to bounce on out of here. You guys ready to hit it? Okay. So let's get on out. Excited to just have a random day off. So for Squirrel, for Cheese, for our fantastic production crew, who are great movie guessers as well, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.